There are times when you deserve more than a coffee break, so make a cup of Mellow Birds. You'll find its smooth, mellow flavor turns an ordinary coffee break into a mellow moment. Mellow Birds for mellow moments.
Every day should have some.
Welcome to another Mellow Moments. Time to have my sip of Mellow Birds. The hug in a mug. Now, some people don't like Mellow Birds. For example, I know one person who said that Mellow Birds is not really a hug in a mug. I prefer a cup of Horlicks. In Britain, we have a drink, like a malty drink called Horlicks. And she thinks that Horlicks is a hug in a mug and not Mellow Birds. Well, here on AA Mellow, there are no rules. If it makes you feel more mellow to have a Horlicks as opposed to a Mellow Birds, knock yourself out and have a Horlicks. We're easy going here. All right, let's see what's on the box today. Tell you what, I like that music, friends. I really do.
In the countryside, the way of life has always been slower than that of towns and cities. Let's find out what living in the country might have been like in the past. 100 years ago, most people living in a small village like this would have worked on nearby farms. The cottages were small and crowded then, as families used to have lots of children. The next village seemed a long way off. A few people had horses, but most walked everywhere.
Bass, dreaming of Trumpton.
Country children often had a long walk to school each day. There were no buses or cars then, just muddy cart tracks and paths to trudge along.
I have to say, since I have had this lodge, I've got to experience a bit of the real country. And a while back, my car broke down. And it is true. If you don't have a car in the countryside, the nearest town is literally like an hour's walk away. And I'm talking like an hour's walk there and an hour's walk back. It's interesting. It really is. But I kind of like it too.
Older children had to make sure that their younger brothers and sisters kept up with them. There would have been one school for all the children from the surrounding small villages. And after school, most country children had jobs to do. Girls helped at home, and they all worked in the fields. Even the little ones. There were times when whole families worked together in the fields, like harvesting and hop picking. Country life was very much a farming life then. Today, looking after animals hasn't changed much. This lamb needs to be bottle-fed, as its mother hadn't enough milk for it. Soon it will be old enough to feed itself. One way to find out what working in the fields was like in the past is to try it out. Picking up stones was a usual job for children. Stones could easily blunt the farmers' cutting tools. But today, they're pulling up weeds to give the turnips a chance to grow. Although this looks like a working farm, it's also a museum. Everything is carried on using traditional farming methods, just as it would have been 100 years ago. Investigating these old farming methods will also give clues to the old way of life in the countryside. There were no tractors or motor-powered machines then, just men and horses. Jack has spent all his life working with horses.
How old were you when you first started working horses, Jack?
Oh, I was just 14 when I started.
How long do you have to work in a day?
Well, when we were feeding horses, we used to have to be up early, about 6.
Yeah.
And then we worked till 6 o'clock, and then we had our tea. And we used to have to go back and feed them again and groom them and finish them up at night, like, bed them down.
Did you have main jobs that you did?
Oh, no, not particularly.
Excellent flat cap, by the way. Excellent flat cap.
Well, I was under wagoner to start. Well, you had all odd jobs to do then.
Yeah.
This breed of horse is called a Shire horse. It's big and massively strong for pulling carts, ploughs and other farm machinery. For work, the horse has to wear a leather harness. This part of the harness is called the collar. Everything that the horse pulls will be attached to this collar.
It's a big horse now.
Notice that he doesn't have to be tied up while being harnessed. Shire horses are very steady and reliable animals.
I have to say, I've always loved the this kind of gorgeous chestnut brown that some horses are. I like that colour horse.
When the bit goes in, they're ready for work.
It's gorgeous. It's a gorgeous horse. Very nice. Magnificent specimen.
Today, it's work with the tip cart. The horse will pull cartloads of manure to the fields. But first, the shafts of the cart must be carefully secured to the horse's harness with chains and leather straps.
My Mellow Bird has got an extra specially buttery quality today. I like that butter.
Manure from the farm animals is then loaded onto the cart. When it's full up, their journey can begin. It's a long, steady trek to the fields, and as in the past, they travel at walking pace, with the farmer leading the horse. The horse's harness is made exactly as it would have been 100 years ago. The cart too is an old local tip cart that has been repaired and repainted. Nowadays, tractors would do work like this much more speedily.
We're not in a hurry. It's good, isn't it? It's nice.
Here the horse is really showing its strength. Watch how it backs the cart up to the manure heap, guided by the farmer, of course. And now you know why it's called a tip cart.
Kind of hypnotic watching this. I'm kind of in a bit of a trance, drinking my coffee, watching this man empty the manure.
When the manure is spread on the fields, it will help the crops to grow well. Potatoes and turnips will be planted here. And it's back to the farmyard for another load. Remember that 100 years ago in the countryside, horses and carts were a very common sight. Does this give you clues to other important jobs then? When wheels fell off carts, someone had to repair them or make new ones. The person who did this job was called a wheelwright. Today, the wheelwright is mending the spokes of this old cartwheel. It's made entirely of wood. He has to take off the rim before he can repair the spokes. Wheelwrights must have always had plenty of work with all those carts about. The farrier, or blacksmith, would have been a very important man in the village too. As well as being the horse vet, the farrier would make new shoes for horses at his smithy. Watch how quickly he works, hammering the red-hot iron into shape. For the next stage, the iron must be heated up again. He pumps the bellows to increase the flames. Pieces of ash and iron are brushed off before more hammering.
John
Now
Smith.
it's beginning to look like a horseshoe.
It's 1381 John Smith, ladies and gentlemen.
Making the holes for the nails will finish it off. Horseshoes wore out quickly on the old cobbled roads. This meant regular visits to the farrier. Horses' hooves are hard, so the hammering doesn't harm them. The farrier's smithy was a bit like today's garage, only in those days people brought their horses for shoeing and not motor cars to be repaired. In the past, farriers and wheelwrights were very important to country people, but there was yet another job to do with horses and carts. Can you think what it was? The harness may give you a clue.
It has to be a tanner, some sort of leather manufacturer, right?
It's the saddler. Working with leather, the saddler would have made harnesses for the horses and straps for the carts.
Do you have to be very strong to punch the hole through?
No, it goes through quite easily. You will see in a moment when you have a go, won't you? No, would you like to have a go at Steve?
Another excellent little flat cap for that young lad there.
Yes, please.
Are you any good at threading needles?
Yes. Yes.
We shall see. Go on, you go. Now these are the clams. You can't stitch leather without them, you see. They go between
The clams were the name for this wooden tool which held the leather tight for stitching, like a pair of pincers.
Left needle first. And now the right one. Don't take it all the way through, just a little bit.
I've noticed, by the way, friends, that it takes me, on average, about 15 minutes to drink a cup of Mellow Birds. Just got a couple of sips left, and we're 16 minutes in here, so...
And pull. Well done.
One of the important differences about country life 100 years ago was that most people didn't travel far and had jobs working on the farms around their villages. Nowadays, mainly because of the invention of the motor car, many people living in the countryside drive to work in the big towns. In the past, horses ploughing in the fields like this would have been a very familiar sight. Things have always changed slowly in the countryside, but 100 years on, tractors and combine harvesters have finally replaced the working horse and speeded up the whole process of farming.
Thanks, Sally Hawkins.
Keep up soft.
All right, well, join me again tomorrow for another edition. Maybe I should finish the Mellow Birds. Hold on a second. Taking a bit longer with this one than usual. I'm still drinking. Maybe I should have a look at some comments on the Mellow Birds while we're trying to finish. Somebody says, I thought your gangster name was OG Roland Rat. No, it's not. My gangster name is the Velvet Glove. Someone says AA is best at waggling his joystick. Well, very good on Davy Thompson's Olympic challenge. All right, well, that'll be do for now. See you tomorrow.
There are times when you deserve more than a coffee break, so make a cup of Mellow Birds. You'll find its smooth, mellow flavor turns an ordinary coffee break into a mellow moment. Mellow Birds for mellow moments.